All right, we are live here with Mr. Tom Hamilton, running for City Council of San Bruno. Thank you, Tom, for joining me.
No problem. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let me kind of just give you a little background on why I'm doing this series of talking with politicians. Basically, as you know, I'm a realtor and I sell a lot of houses in the San Mateo County. And when I go back and talk to some of my clients, oftentimes I find that they couldn't even name their city council member. And to me, that's kind of sad. And so to me, I believe that local government is more important than what happens on the federal level, right? But yet everyone has an opinion on the federal level. So that's why I wanted to have some of the local candidates, the local elected officers to come and chat with me so that people can get a little more involved and hopefully get them interested in the whole process. So thank you very much for joining me today.
I couldn't agree more that we absolutely need more local engagement with what's going on because it's so important. So thank you for doing this.
Definitely. So you are the incumbent running for city council in the great city of San Bruno. So maybe you can first help people understand where are the boundaries of District 2?
Sure. So District 2 encompasses mostly the Crestmore neighborhoods. So there are 3 subdivisions in the hills of San Bruno called Crestmore 1, Crestmore 2, and Crestmore 3. The majority of single-family homes that are in my district are in that area. And then the district also extends down to the area where north of 380 and around Cherry Avenue, where we have all the multifamily homes. So all the way down to El Camino, across from Tanforan. So and the northern boundary is Sneak Lane and the cemetery. So
Got it.
So I have a lot of multifamily homes. We have a lot of multifamily homes in District 2 as well.
Excellent. Very helpful. Now, I noticed that you were first sworn in on December of 2020. How difficult was that? We were in the middle of the pandemic at that point.
We were in the middle of the pandemic. It was a very interesting concept. I had canvassed and knocked doors for other candidates in the past, and it was a very, very different experience running during COVID, because I believe in knocking on doors and talking to people directly. And during COVID, it was very different because we would hang the flyer, knock on the door, and then run and to the street and have shouting conversation across their front yard. But on the flip side, people were kind of starved for human contact, being locked up in their homes. So I think more people answered the door, and most people were home because there was nowhere else for people to go. So I had a lot of great conversations. And then of course getting sworn in December, I didn't attend a council meeting in person until I was already in office for nearly 2 years. So
wow. What from a governance standpoint, what was the hardest part of that?
We had a lot of meetings, so it wasn't a lack of being able to engage. But one of the things that's really, really useful is and why I encourage people to come to meetings is that when we have a meeting in person, there's time before the meeting and there's time after the meeting where you can really connect with people that you may not connect with, that you don't encounter in the community. And so there was none of that, because it was all just on Zoom, and people were able to dial in for Zoom comments and stuff, but that was all within the bounds of the meeting, where you can't have a one-on-one conversation with folks. So that I think was the biggest loss, having to do it on Zoom, but it was necessary.
Well, thank God it's over.
Really, absolutely.
So next question is, during your time as a councilman, what is, in your opinion, the greatest accomplishment?
I'm really happy with the strides we've been able to make in revitalizing our downtown. One of the reasons that I ran for office in the first place was that I saw that San Bruno wasn't moving forward in many ways, and one of those ways, one of those things was our downtown, which was really withering from the effect. So I had downtown as being one of my passion projects throughout my first term, and just focusing on trying to make improvements there to revitalize it, make it more appealing for new businesses to come and try to make their way here in San Bruno, and then also for our residents and shoppers from within and outside of San Bruno to come down and have a nicer experience. So during COVID, of course, difficult because we were under immense financial strain, like everybody was, and we really wanted to make sure that we didn't have to lay off city staff and all of that. So we were being very, very judicious with our funds. So we made really small, and I was still able to advocate for and implement small incremental changes. So they were really, really small things, just new garbage cans, let's get some new newspaper racks. Let's at least send a signal to our merchants and to our residents that we're serious about revitalizing our downtown. So we did that because it was a lower cost thing that we could do during a COVID budget. And then later on, it was still during COVID, we started the design. I was on a subcommittee, and we designed a new plaza. So right in the middle of our downtown, or southern end of our downtown, there's an empty lot called Centennial Plaza. It used to be a bank that was seismically unsafe after the '89 earthquake. It was an empty lot for a long time, and then it was redone as a plaza around 2010. But it had a fence around it and a little sign that said no trespassing, and it was a completely useless space. And it's like that for forever, for a decade. And I really wanted that space to be a usable space, because one of the things that we hear from our merchants is that they would love to have events and other things downtown, but they don't always want to close the street. So because closing the street, sometimes makes it difficult for people to get to certain businesses and all of that. And there's a lot of cost and logistics in closing the street. But there was nowhere to have any kind of an event. So we'll be cutting the ribbon on Centennial Plaza here in October, and I'm super happy about it. So this will be a place where we can maybe try to start up another farmers market on a small scale. It's got a little stage where you can have music and performances and places for people to get takeout and go and sit on a nice day and enjoy the weather and enjoy one of the many awesome restaurants that we have downtown. So I'm super proud of that.
Tom, honestly, I don't live in San Bruno, but I go there on a regular basis because all my kids go to La Petite, the swim school. So I'm constantly in the downtown area, and I've been watching that plaza kind of get beautified. I think that's the word. Mm-hmm. And it's looking great. And I'm excited to actually see the finished product. So, congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Now, the other thing that you kind of mentioned on your website is development. I think that's a key priority for you. And I know that, when I talk to some citizens, they don't want development. Can you explain why it's so important for the city of San Bruno to have more development?
Sure. And when I say that I want more development, that doesn't mean that I want the entire city to be redeveloped. And we have a lot of bedroom neighborhoods and single family homes, and those will all remain. Where we really need to see more development is in what we call our transit corridor. So that is along El Camino, along San Mateo Avenue, along San Bruno Avenue. I'd like to see our transit corridor extend up Sneak Lane. Areas that are close to transit, because that's where more dense housing belongs. And we're blessed in San Bruno with basically every transit option. We have a bus station, a train station. We've got 3 freeways that intersect here. We've got Samtrans going through. So there's lots of opportunities to put in multifamily housing where folks can then grab public transit to commute to work, outside of San Bruno. So that's where I think the focus needs to be. Unfortunately, over the past few years, we've had kind of a bit of an economic downturn, and commercial development has been soft. throughout the county. So we haven't seen a lot of development happening. We have a few projects underway, and a really exciting project getting underway at Tanfran, which I think I can go into detail on if you'd like.
Would you be able to elaborate a little bit what's going on in Tanfran?
Sure. So Tanfran Mall, I'm sure you're familiar. It's your standard shopping mall. It's been around for since the early '70s, and historically, that was when it opened. It became the town square, the center of San Bruno. And my first job was there. So was both my sister's first job was there. My mother worked there. It was really, that's where the theaters were. Everything, and everything was happening there. But as time has rolled on, the concept of a mall is kind of fallen by the wayside. And as with malls across the country, that the mall was really slowing down and dying. So early in my term, we heard that the three owners of the mall, there was three different owners, were putting it up for sale. And before it went up for sale, we took a proactive step to hire a consultant and put together what we call the fact sheet. So you have to remember, it's a private company it's a private property that's going to be sold to another private property. We don't have anything to do with it, with the sale. So, but we went ahead and put together a fact sheet called Reimagining Tanfran, and we sent it to every developer in the nation. And we saying that, hey, if you're interested in buying this property, this is kind of what San Bruno envisions for this. And it was a mixture of biotech or other commercial, retail, and 1,000 units of housing, across that entire property. And the sale did go through. Alexandria, which is the company that built Mission Bay in San Francisco, so they're big time, was the buyer, and they're going to build exactly what we asked for, because they know that that's what the city of San Bruno is looking for. So the permitting process, and there's going to be EIRs and all that type of process where we need to work together. They know that process with San Bruno is going to go much more smoothly, because everybody's on board with what's going to be built. So it's really exciting. The mall will probably close at the end of next year, end of 2025. The Target is there, and they have a 50-year. So they're going to be building a brand new Target at the corner of Sneak Lane and El Camino. So in the northwest corner of the property, they'll build a brand new Target there. Then Target will move out of its current space and into the new space, so they won't lose a day of sales, and we'll be parking underneath, and then the mall will be taken down. The other thing that's exciting is that the Century Theater will remain as well. So there's the Century Theater is there, and it has a lot of parking underneath it. That whole structure will remain, but they'll build a new facing on the building with extra retail ways. Right now, it's connected with the bridge to the mall, so they'll have to build ways of to get folks up from ground level up there. And the nice thing that right now the mall is kind of a barrier between El Camino and the BART station, which is behind it. And it's going to be an open space. We already have commitments from Alexandria that this is not going to be a walled off space like you see like Google's campus in Mountain View, where it's this is our thing, everybody stay out. There's going to be walking trails and biking trails and easy ways for people to traverse from El Camino and get to the BART station, which will make it a lot easier for our folks to access that for the transit option. So it's a super, super exciting project. And
yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, I've watched Tanfran for a little while, and unfortunately, it doesn't. It's really underutilized at this point. So hopefully, the new designs are going to drive more people and make it really a good community center.
Yep. And the other good news there is that, as I mentioned, development is really softened. Commercial development has really softened over the past couple of years, up and down the peninsula and across the nation, really. But we have commitments from Alexandria that they've slowed down a little bit, but they haven't taken their foot off. They haven't taken their foot off the gas. We've seen in other communities lots of projects getting canceled because things are not financially great. But this project is absolutely moving forward. They're moving forward with with their entitlement process right now, and it may not happen currently as fast as they originally intended, but it's still going underway. So we're super happy about that.
Yeah. Okay. And then on your website, you mentioned that the city was looking at roughly a $8 million budget shortfall. And you also mentioned that you have a goal of fiscal sustainability. So what are some of the steps that you plan to take to make up this difference?
Sure. So we don't really have a budget shortfall. I don't know where that number came from, but our budget is balanced. And so but we obviously do have fiscal problems. So from a fiscal sustainability standpoint, going across my whole term, when I first joined the council, and one of my very first meetings, we had a meeting about setting our strategic initiatives, and those are the things that the council thinks that it says are these are the priorities, these are the things that we want staff to be working on, in addition to all just the regular stuff of running the city. There were 56 things on that list, 56 things, and immediately I was just flabbergasted, and I immediately said to my colleagues and to staff, it's like, if you try to accomplish 56 things, you're going to finish 0 things. So I've been advocating all this, year after year, to let's shrink this list, and focus. And if you take something off the list, it doesn't mean we're never going to do it. It's like, let's not work on it now. Let's work on some stuff and get them all finished. So that list has progressively gotten smaller and smaller. And I'm very happy to say that in this budget cycle for the 24-25 budget, there's five things that we're focusing on, and 3 of them are about our downtown. Super happy about that. So that's really going to help us focus and not spend a lot of effort and money on a whole bunch of things that we're not going to accomplish. Other areas of looking at fiscal sustainability is we have to look at our long-term infrastructure needs. So we have a $65 million approximate a year budget. That's our general fund for operating budget. That's paying for everything. That's paying for the police and fire and parks and all this stuff. And so right now, $1 million a year has to be taken out of that and put into our stormwater enterprise. So, and for viewers who may not know, enterprise is something that's supposed to be sustaining itself. So, like our water customers pay for water, and all the money that we collect from water bills goes into the water enterprise, and that's used to not only keep the water enterprise running day to day, but also we bank money in it to fund replacing the water towers, replacing the pipes, and doing all of the ongoing infrastructure that you need to do, especially in an old city like ours. Our stormwater enterprise is $1 million a year underwater, no pun intended, because the property tax assessment that funds it is too small. Everybody's paying about $46 a year into it. That rate was set in 1994 and has never been raised. We tried to raise it, but that went to the property owners to a vote, and it failed miserably because we have a pretty big issue with the way that works, and because San Bruno is it's hilly. We had people in the hills voting no because they don't flood, and people in the flats voting please yes because they do flood, because we have all this stormwater issues. So right. So we went to I'm very, very proud to have worked with my more conservative colleagues to unanimously put a bond measure on the ballot, and that's Measure Q. That's on our ballot here in November. That would fund we have about $300 million in stormwater needs. We also need to replace one of our fire stations, and we have a lot of extra road repairs that we need to take place. So those are the 3 things, and the only 3 things that the money from this bond can be used for. And so we were able to put that on the ballot, and I'm obviously advocating for folks to vote yes on that in November. My opponent is adamantly against Measure Q. He thinks that we should, not spend, not do projects like the one I talked about for Centennial Plaza, and instead of, put the money toward these needs. But it's really a question of scale. The total amount of infrastructure needs that we have that are unfunded is $550 million. And, $1.5 million plaza is not going to make a huge dent in that amount. So we have to just, take big swings at this and in order to address it. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
the most proud about there though is that it's been historically very difficult to get these things even onto the ballot, because we have some very fiscally conservative colleagues on our city council. So I partnered with our most fiscally conservative, my most fiscally conservative colleague, Michael Salazar, and we worked together with staff to come up with this, and was proud to get it on the ballot with a 5-0.
Well, you guys definitely have, I mean, San Bruno definitely has a lot of things going on right now, a lot of moving pieces, that's for sure. So fiscal sustainability is a tough one there.
Yes. There's one other thing that's probably on the minds of at least some folks who would be watching, and that's our cable internet enterprise. So we have San Bruno is one of the last cities in the nation that has their own city-run enterprise for cable TV and internet. And it was established back in the 70s. It was really the bomb. I've lived here my whole life, and we were one of the first customers to get it. And I was the envy of all my friends who lived outside of San Bruno and who didn't have it yet. But over the years, it's become just unsustainable for us to remain competitive, and because of the cost of content. With back when we opened, there were 13 channels. Now there's thousands of channels, and we have to pay for all those. So when I joined the council and was able to really get a deep dive into the books, we were losing just millions, and we ended up with $21.5 million in debt. It's simply not a sustainable enterprise. So proud to say that we've paid off the debt, and we are in the process of we're in negotiations right now with Comcast to buy the enterprise, and we'll end it. So it simply wasn't able to be sustained.
So at this point, you guys are in negotiations with Comcast to sell that piece back to them, I guess.
Exactly. So they basically would be buying our customer base and then putting their own
Got it.
Service.
Well, on the positive side, from what I read, the Embark is going to open soon. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we're opening a cannabis dispensary on here. It should be opening in late December, early January. Latest I heard, they were still on track from a time perspective. I've been advocating for opening for allowing cannabis sales in San Bruno since way before I was elected. I don't personally use cannabis, but I know lots of people who get benefit from it.
But I think regardless of what we think of cannabis, I think from a city perspective, it's extra revenue that can only help, right?
Absolutely. So and Embark's going to be a great partner. They've been around the block. They have lots of dispensaries up and down California. It's very high end, high security, which is obviously be mandated. If you're under 18, you can never even enter the premises or even loiter up front. You have to show ID to enter the dispensary. And what's really interesting is that for folks who are not familiar with the dispensary, and of course I had to educate myself. Not being a user, I had to educate myself a lot on this topic before taking a position on it. Is that it's much less like what people might think about being some kind of dingy place where people are selling drugs, and it's much more like a healthcare facility, because there's all kinds of different products that do different for different folks with different ailments, and everybody in there is so knowledgeable that you can folks can go in and find exactly what they need. So I'm super happy about that. One thing that I am disappointed at, though, is that we had originally, when we had a more progressive majority before the 2022 election, we had allowed for up to 3 storefronts to be able to be opened in San Bruno. But we didn't complete the project. So the project was still we had just started collecting or opening up for applications for folks to open dispensaries. And right at the top, this is when we had the 2022 election. A more conservative member was elected, and that majority brought cannabis back and reduced the scope, and they eliminated our downtown from being on the list, which I still don't understand, and they also cut it down to 1. So what this means is that we have 1 dispensary. It's on El Camino at the very southern end of our city. So unfortunately, we won't get spillover because there's going to be a lot of traffic there. We won't get spillover into our other downtown businesses, which is really unfortunate. And also I'm a little bit worried because we're kind of in a cannabis desert here in San Bruno, which is one of the other reasons that I really wanted us to hit the gas and get in here, because there's no place to buy cannabis between Redwood City and San Francisco. So that's a really large service area. You can get cannabis in Pacifica, but a lot of people don't want to drive up over the hill. So there's a huge tour base, which means that there's going to be a lot of traffic at that one place. And I would have loved to have seen it better, where we have maybe two or even 3 dispensaries right now to kind of spread that around. But that wasn't in the cards, unfortunately, because my colleagues didn't see it that way.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I think it'll do wonders for the economy of San Bruno.
Absolutely.
So I'm crossing my fingers.
Absolutely, we'll see millions in revenue.
Well, Tom, I want to be respectful of your time because I know you have a lot of things going on. So the way I like to end up all my conversation is ask a personal question. So I know you have a beautiful family, and if you had a bucket list, where would be the dream vacation for your family?
Dream vacation. So we all love the water. So it would be somewhere tropical. And since it's a bucket list dream, somewhere like Fiji, somewhere in the South Pacific, and go there and lay on the beach and enjoy the sunshine and be in the water. That's the thing my family loves the most.
I love it. I love it. All right, Tom. Well, that is all I have for you. Thank you again for taking the time to chat with me and my followers. I wish you the best on the election. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again next time as the new councilman.
Absolutely. If you ever have any questions about anything that's going on in San Bruno, I'm always available. So I look forward to speaking to you again. I really appreciate it, Bert.
Wonderful. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.